Hi, my name is Tommy Kennedy, and I'm glad to be here with BJ Mathis, and we're doing a little interview. A little bit about me: I have a bachelor's degree in applied physics from Georgia Tech, an MBA from Georgia Tech. I served 11 years in the corporate world, and then I was called into ministry. So I've been a pastor for 15 years. I live in Henry County, and I've been active in the local community. I've been president of the Rotary Club, and I'm currently a host of a local TV show. And so I've been around TV a little bit, and so I'm going to ask some tough questions to this politician, BJ Mathis. We're going to talk about several different things. I'm going to talk about taxes. I'm going to talk about buying property. I'm going to talk about furlough days. How about corruption? T-Splosh, economic development, several different kinds of questions. So let's get started off. BJ, it's great to have you.
Well, it's good to be here, and thank you for taking time out to participate in an interview today so we can get this message out to the voters in Henry County.
Well, I'm not going to hold back. I'm just going to hit you as hard as I can with questions that a lot of people have on their minds. So question one, how has Henry County done under your leadership as far as creating an environment for companies and industries wanting to locate here?
That's a great question, because in this economy, bringing new jobs and new businesses into the county is very critical to help stabilize our tax base, of course, to provide jobs for our citizens, and to help us balance the tax base, because we're so reliant on residential property taxes. And so we embarked on an initiative back in 2009 to develop a One Henry economic development strategy. And I brought a copy of that here, and this is the final product. Over 100 leaders in Henry County came together, and what we did is we talked about what are the good things that Henry County has in place to attract businesses, but what are some things that we need to do to make ourselves a little more competitive. And so we drafted this strategy, and we looked at a number of things. And so what we've done over the last few years is we've worked to put some things in place that will make us more attractive than we already are. Henry County is south of Hartsfield Airport, and of course we're north of the port, so we're ideally situated on I-75 with 7 interchanges, so location is something that we have. We have an abundant supply of water thanks to the vision of people on the Water Authority who back in the 60s and 70s, when nobody lived in Henry County, had a vision to build reservoirs to supply water needs for the future growth that they saw coming. And so I have to say hats off to them for being a visionary. And of course we have a low crime rate, we have good schools, and so these were things that we felt we already had in place, but we needed more. Some of the things that we've worked on is, first of all, business incentives. Businesses want to know that you've got your open for business sign out. How can we work with them? How can we expedite permits? How can we make their transition into Henry County easier? So we have developed a business incentives policy.
Well, let me interrupt you there, because a lot of people talk about the business incentives and they think, well, all it is taking county money, taken out of our pockets and put in a slush fund, to kind of grease the way for all these wealthy people, and it all winds up in their pockets. Why should we have incentives for business to locate here?
Well, it's a very competitive market, because companies can locate anywhere they choose when they're building from the ground up.
You mean they don't have to come to Henry County?
They don't have to. And of course, we're so great, you would think they would want to just come flocking in. But businesses, they're looking at the bottom line. Where are they going to be the most successful? And what community is going to work with them and help them to be successful? And so no, they don't have to come here, and there are a lot of places that would love to lure them in. And so the business incentives, if you look at a vacant piece of property in Henry County that's maybe, and I'm just going to pull this number out of the air, maybe they're paying $10,000 a year in property tax sitting there vacant. How much more of a benefit is it to the county to build a business there, where now all of a sudden they're paying $500,000 a year in taxes, plus they're employing our citizens, who in turn are spending money in our economy and helping Henry County to be prosperous in many other ways. So no, they don't have to come here, and so we want to try to attract them here through our incentives policies. And so we were able to adopt those. They've been on the table for a number of years, and we work very hard with the Development Authority, with the State Department of Economic Development, and different partners to make sure we drafted something that would make us competitive with other metro counties.
So the growth in the businesses is not just something that's haphazard. You actually have a written plan. You've gotten input from leaders all across the county, and you really work with these plans so that you're heading in a particular direction. It's not just one day you wake up and say, I guess we'll do it this way.
Right, and I mean, if that's the approach that you take, you're never going to be successful. And one of the things that I point to when I say that, and I always refer back to our transportation plan. For many, many years, Henry County was receiving about 60% of the transportation dollars that we should be receiving. Well, the reason why is because every time you had a newly elected official come in office for their district, their priorities would change, and it would be different than the commissioner prior to them. And so when we work together to put a transportation plan in place to say these, and I have a copy of that here, these are our priorities for transportation. And no matter what comes along, no matter who's in office, no matter what changes takes place, this is our transportation plan. This is our priority. Now we're bringing in more money into this county in transportation funding from the federal and state government than we have ever brought in during our history. So with an economic development plan, it's the same premise. You can't change every time a new commissioner comes into office. This is the vision, this is the plan, and you have to stick with it. That's why Charlotte has been so successful. They put a plan in place 50 years ago.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
They love to take businesses away from the
They
metro
do.
Atlanta and Henry County.
They have marketed themselves as Charlanta, and which was very, very interesting to see how they were putting that spin on it. But the plan needs to be there, and that vision needs to be picked up by anyone who comes into office and carried a step further, and a step further. Because if you don't plan for your future, you're going to get anything.
Well, I've always heard it said, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
That's
and that's
exactly
really,
right.
we don't want that. And with good leadership and a good plan, I think that we can move this county forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as it relates to economic development, you've got to stick with the plan. So some of the decisions that we've made, and we'll talk about those later on because I know you're going to reference some of those, are all part of the plan. And we've been building on that since we drafted this Henry County Economic Development Strategy.
Great. Well, this is a lady with a plan. I hope that you'll consider BJ Mathis as our next county commissioner chair, and that you'll keep that office. And the vote is on July 31st, right?
That's correct.
That's great.